I came from the capital market world, from the economy world. I understand numbers. So you can see the numbers of Israeli economy, even in the time of the biggest wars since it's established in 1948. Why? Because people try harder. If you have potential exit, you can do exit even with zero revenue. Okay, it's possible. But I've always tried to tell my entrepreneurs, and they run the company. I'm not running the company. I'm just part of the investment group. Don't forget the business. Try to create a solid business because investors will tackle it. Will ask you. You can write in Excel everything. I would challenge entrepreneurs and founders on their Excel and on their basic assumptions. Why do you think you can be more efficient from your competitor? Why did you put $30 assumption or not $50 cost? Always create few models that are conservative. If your goal is just to raise money and burn investor cash, I cannot give you any advice.
Masterful Leaders for men building business, family, and self. Hosted by Shimshon Meir Frankel.
Our guest today is Tomer Cohen, a Wharton-educated investor, global strategist, and board member driving some of Israel's most disruptive deep tech and medical innovations. Tomer operates at the high-friction intersection of international tech infrastructure and cross-border diplomacy, actively engineering strategic collaborations and mutual economic growth between Israel, the United States, India, Western countries, and the Gulf states. Backed by a proven track record of managing innovation and institutional efficiency inside massive international organizations, he plays a critical role in championing and scaling a $250 billion startup ecosystem. Tomer is an operator whose perspective on global expansion is defined by structural precision, high-level technological solutions, and absolute clarity in macro-strategic decision-making. He is here to show us how to navigate complex international alliances, drive organizational efficiency, and maintain the internal grounding required to lead at the absolute frontier of global innovation. Tomer, welcome to Masterful Leaders.
Thank you for inviting me, Shimshon, and thank you for this really warm introduction. I couldn't do it better.
Tomer, looking at your portfolio, you don't just invest in innovation, you invest in safety nets. Drones that won't crash, heart devices that prevent strokes, insurance against audits, and business high performers are addicted to risk. From a strategic standpoint, how do you teach an aggressive founder that the ultimate leverage isn't how fast they can run, but how bulletproof their safety parameters are?
That's a good question. First of all, for any founder that want to build something or has an idea, he look for a need in the market. Okay, if it's an AI or quantum, we can discuss it later because this is the hot topic today. Or even a low tech, even a simple business. Look for open a restaurant. You look for a need for a specific place, attraction of people, and there's no food available, no good food. So there is a need for a good food or a pizza or a falafel or something that you want to eat. So there is a need, and the entrepreneur think how to do it. So regarding regarding safety, at the end, not everything is safety, of course, but many of the startup that you see is related one way or another to safety. Even artificial intelligence, okay, used by defense systems, militaries around the world to promote safetiness or to precise attacks, which is safety to prevent as much as possible collateral damage. Okay, and we see today dual companies. It's like a dual stocks in the Israeli market or in the US market, and it's the same goes for here. Marketing that can operate both on the commercial or the private sector and on the defense sector, which in the recent years has a boom. Okay, it's very grow industry. We the companies that I've worked with, started a few years ago aiming for commercial. Okay, I'm just give you an example, a story of the drone industry. So we focused on, not just we, everyone was focused on the commercial sector. And as you know today, in hindsight, you don't see drones here. You don't open your window and see thousands of drones navigating with deliveries and other commodities. You don't see it because it's not commercialized yet. You can see, but it's really on the edges. We understood it before and see we have barriers, regulation, and others, and we had the chance to progress more on the defense sector way before the situation in Israel, way before. And when it came, we had a heads up. We were prepared, okay? And and again, you have to be very agile when dealing with startups and even companies. And again, I'm always, and I will touch it in few minutes. I'm always compare it to really easy and understandable business, a restaurant or other simple. It's not that simple, but other simple to understand restaurant. Let's say if you have a restaurant and you have a menu and you understand that some product, some dish do not work, you need to replace. You need to be very agile. Okay, it sounds simple on restaurant, but you have to do it. Otherwise, it will shut down. Okay, if the food doesn't taste good or not to the people sense. So again, same goes for here for the company and the startup industries. Okay, so this is regarding the drone industry.
You indicated you have some children, you have family, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have two children and a
Yeah.
wife.
All right. Baruch Hashem. What are their ages?
6 and 9.
Ooh, good.
Two
And,
boys, a lot of energy here, and you have to jiggle between. I'm not putting my kids to outsource.
mhm.
I'm trying to be a good father. I cannot, grade myself. I think I'm good. I'm always trying to improve, to dedicate time to my children. And it's not that easy when you deal with a lot of stuff, a lot of business and other things that you and me are, and everyone are, you know, want to do everything. I cannot, you have a cake and you have time and you have to jiggle. And today it's easier than the past because you can do a lot of stuff with your phone, and of course with the chat bots, the AI chat bots, you can be more efficient and finish things very quick than before. So yeah, my family is part of me, and it's part of what I do. It's part of who I am, and it affects, of course, of my businesses.
And as you're physically shifting between the U.S., India, the Gulf, and Israel, you're carrying all this huge cognitive load.
Yeah. So let me tell you a story. I've been trying for at least a decade to promote peace, economic growth, relationship, cooperations between Israel and moderate Arab countries, way before the Abraham Accords. Okay, because I believe in it. I believe in it on moral point of view, and of course, in economic point of view for my country and the Middle East. Okay, this is what I believe. Everything went under the radar. Okay, people think that on the day of the Abraham Accord started, then the businesses started with Israel and the UAE. It's not true. The fact is that we've been doing businesses with the UAE, I think at least 20 years or close to it, but it went under the radar. You have to open a third party companies, an offshore or something. Um, and people will not, talked about it openly. But everything was changed since the peace treaties, okay, between Israel and the UAE, and then came Bahrain, Morocco, and Sudan, and others will come. And the story is true. I was promoting it very hard. I'm not carrying any diplomatic rule or any official rule. I'm trying to do what I see the best of my country and in the region, okay, and trying to be very moderate to understand there's people on the other side as well. So since the Abraham Accords, on the I think at least 2 3 months, I've been receiving and sending tremendous amounts of connections and messages and emails with Emiratis and people who live in the Emirates. And regardless of the businesses, let's put it aside for a second. You understood and you see different culture than yours, but you share the same values, okay, with moderate countries. It's basically same values or very close values. 80% is the same or very close. And it was, I remember myself every day do at least, I think it was during the COVID or close to the COVID, or at least 2 3 4 even 5 meetings a day, every day, except for Shabbat, of course, every day. And businesses came out of it, and other things came out of it, and other cooperation came out of it. And as you know, there is a very large population of Indians living in the Emirates. I think it's the largest minorities there, and I've been in touch with Indians for many years. They are pro innovation, pro Israel in the sense that they are believe in Israel way. And I'm not getting into politics at all, at all. Everything is on mutual cooperation between countries and businesses. And things, led to another, and you explain the country's view and your view and what you think it's best for the region, and most people agree. So sometimes it's continue to even doing advocating, or it's not official diplomacy, but diplomacy. You do it if you want or not. And I found myself for the past years dedicating my LinkedIn profile not solely but mostly to promoting Israel, promoting ties between Israel and the United States with all parties, promoting ties between Israel and India with moderate countries, not just in the Gulf, in others. And it's like you can call it, there's a definition called astropolitics. Okay, you have trends, global trends that shape the way of the future. It's like the trade oil, or supposed to be from Saudi Arabia to Haifa port. With God help, it will happen. And we see today with everything happened with Iran and the United States that trade routes are very important. And what we do today will shape the future. And today the focus, of course, is on artificial intelligence. It's not just a buzzword. If you use it as a buzzword, so the way it is, you can see tons of companies today add AI to their name, or said we are using AI in order to do that and that and that. People do not understand exactly what it is, but machine learning has been in our place for, I know it, for at least 15 years, okay? So not everything is AI, not everything is super sophisticated. And if you use is the buzzword, just, put spice, people will understand eventually. But you need to invest as a country in AI, not just as a buzzword, in the infrastructure of the AI, in the industry surrounded. How do you exactly promote it to businesses? How do you exactly, shape or transparent the vision to reality. Another example, we invested in the past on one of the fund I've been a managing partner in at least 30 companies, and some of them has a tremendous vision of changing the world, which is remarkable. However, as an investor, you look at the bottom line. Okay, if you have potential exit, you can do exit even with zero revenue. Okay, it's possible, but I've always tried to tell my entrepreneurs, and they run the company. I'm not running the company. I'm just invest or part of the investment group. Don't forget the business. Okay, sometimes it's develop some medical device, sophisticated medical device, or for today a quantum, which you don't see the revenue immediately and not in the coming years, but some of the businesses you can see. Okay, so don't forget the businesses. In the end, if you have a living business which can operate itself from in some point or very close to it, and the burn rate is not that high. Okay, burn rate, it means how much money you burn every month. I mean revenue minus expenses, actual cash. If you have it, you're in a very good place to continue raising funds or grow. Okay, you cannot grow organically if you don't have very high income without funds. But if you rely all the time on the future funds, at the end, you probably because most of the startups failed. Okay, we hear all the success story, but most of the startups failed. You will end up on the those who fall side, and you don't want to. You want to succeed. Some of the companies create a solid business, which is also okay. If I can call for first countries, then entrepreneurs, the countries I call the moderate Arab countries to join the Abraham Accords. It's the beneficial for everyone, and we all know which countries we are talking about. Okay, there is at least two countries, one big country and a few others in the Gulf and other countries. It's not a shame to join to Israel and join the innovation side. On the other side, I call entrepreneurs, don't be afraid. And this is one. Second, don't forget the business. Try to create a solid business because investors will tackle it, will ask you. Okay, and you can write in Excel everything. I would challenge entrepreneurs and founders. I would challenge them on their Excel, on their assumption, on their basic assumptions. Why do you think you can be more efficient from your competitor? Okay, this is your assumption. Why did you put $30 assumption or not $50 cost? I would tackle them and I would challenge them. So don't forget the business. Always create few models that are conservative. You can call it conservative, realistic, and optimistic, and present to the investor the conservative. And be conservative. If your goal is just to raise money and burn investor cash, okay, I cannot give you any advices. If you want to build a solid business or a solid startup, try to be realistic with your Excel sheet because most of the startups I saw and I've reviewed, I think hundreds of business plans and presentations and calls with startups. Most of the forecasts were unrealistic. You have to be at least realistic, and of course, don't forget the dream. This is my vision. Of course, others as a we just read about AI company by a French entrepreneur that raised $1 billion from the largest, it's the biggest capital round in the European market. Okay, from the largest, from Bezos and Nvidia, etc. And they explain that it's really remarkable amount. Okay, for in any measure, they explain that they want to build something for few years without revenues. I don't want to get into the specific details, but yeah, sometimes you need to build something without revenues for several years, and you have to be visionary. It's very hard to raise money like this, and you have to be very exceptional and remarkable and know that the right people can write a big check, and very big check. You need to translate the tech to business. It's like a title. It's very hard to do, but you need to understand all the time how to convert the tech into business.
Tomer, you touched on something that I'm curious about. For a founder who's jumping into a startup, it sounds like they need to be ambitious, which means they have to have the vision, but you're also bringing in the value of being realistic. What what other values, what other pillars does a founder need as a foundation when jumping into a new startup?
First of all, I'll start by saying that you don't have to have the full package. Okay, you can be very good in one thing, but don't be afraid to listen to others, to advisors. I've been mentoring startups, pro bono Israeli startups, for a few years. I've met with very very talented people, very talented. When you want to build a solid business, you cannot find, maybe you can, but it's not very common to find someone who is really good in everything. You can be very good manager or a very good CEO. You can be very good with business development or sales. Okay, you know how to sell. CEO need to know how to raise money or to manage his people. You can be very good at tech, and here it's a lot of spectrum. You can be very good in the development or the product or algorithms, and it's very, very wide. Okay, you could be very good with the finance. It's very hard to find pillars or a cookbook that have to be very good in AYBC. First of all, you need to understand what is your situation now and where you are going to. Okay, it's not I always look on 10 years ahead or 5 years ahead, but at least 2 3 years ahead. You have to be very good and usually cooperate with the founder, with a co-founder. A startup, it's like a baby, it's like your baby. And if you have two parents, it's easier because you dedicate all your time to the baby. You want him to grow, you want to succeed. So me as an investor, look on, let's say I have the same companies, same thing, everything, and the sole difference is if there is a one founder or two co-founders. I would choose the two co-founders because I want two people to be dedicated to my investment. Try someone that can complement you, to be as an advisor, not like an advisor, but someone that can be good and something that you don't. And don't be shy to say, I don't understand in the core tech. I don't understand the core business. I'm very good in to be COO, chief operating. I can be very good at it, but I need someone to run the company. So maybe I can find a partner with me. I think the first pillar is to understand your limitation, to understand what you can do, and especially what you cannot do or you struggle with, and then to to find the right solution for your situation. And don't be afraid. In Israel, I had a talk a few days ago with someone about it, someone in the industry. In the high-tech industry in Israel, there is really need to help others. Okay, you can call someone, he will help you. It's garlic business. Okay, there is a cooperation mode here. Okay, like for example, one of the program I'm mentoring, I've been going to like a speed date or a speed demo, and I see a lot of startups and try to help. Okay, connect them, give them advice, do that, don't do that, go from this direction, not from that. And this is the core of the Israeli ecosystem. People try to help each other. Of course, there is a competition here and everything, and competitors, and people think all about themselves, and everything that going around the world is happening here in Israel. But the essence here is to try to help. This is at least my perspective. Okay, most of the people that If you need help, they try to help you and don't get any commission out of it. Okay, if they just make a call or do an email.
So you're operating out of an ecosystem that has valued itself at like $250 billion while navigating literal crisis and geopolitical warfare. So, on top of that, you choose to be publicly vocal and active rather than neutral. What does emotional mastery look like when the stakes are that personal? How do you keep your mind clear and sovereign when both your business ecosystem and your personal convictions are under constant fire?
Well, that's a good question. I think my vocal is pretty neutral. I'm not saying anything which is no, it's not on the common, at least on the common Israeli slash West U.S. slash Western, what is called politically correct or agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't know. This is the way we've been raised. I remember my office is inside a safe room. Okay, inside of it's not a shelter; it's a safe room built of solid concrete in Israel, which is called mamad, and it's a safe room. And I remember when missiles came here from the Iranian regime. I've been in a lot of meetings, and people heard the sirens and told me, how do you work like this? I told them, let me close the door first and we will continue. You cannot clear everything, okay, but you need to continue. This is how you win the terror. You cannot stop and say, okay, I'm stopping right now. And you know what? This is me. If you do it, it's okay. It's completely natural. If you cannot work or you're very afraid, don't be arrogant and don't, we have safety precautions to. On top of it, we trying to live the life as close to possible to normal business. We have internet here. We have connection. We have our mind. We have the people that we work with around the globe. We try harder in the times of war, in the times of conflicts. And not just myself. I see it. You can see it even in the Israeli economic macro results. I came from the capital market world, from the economy world. I understand numbers. So you can see the numbers of Israeli economy, even in the time of its biggest war since it's established in 1948. Why? Because people try harder. I have children here, okay, and the education system were shut down. So how exactly can you work and still raising your children that want to go out, watch TV, play with you, and other things? And you need to work. You have things you have to do. So you try harder. You find solution. You find solution. You always connect to the phone. You always connect. Okay, and you find solution. Why? Because this is the way it is. And like me, there are others. Millions in Israel. They try harder and try to work from home remotely if you cannot access to the office. Okay, I have an office in home, but most of the people don't. You need to explain the children the situation. Okay, don't get them afraid, but you need to explain and they understand. You cannot be close to the reality and say, okay, we are in a war time right now. I need to shut down my computer, my motivation. It's challenging. Sometimes very challenging, and sometimes extremely challenging. But in the end, you can see the results, the growth of the Israeli economy during war, or you can see how much the Israeli tax authority collect in taxes during war, and you see growth. How do you explain it? How do you explain growth in taxes during war? People work harder. People completed tasks. People gain revenues and salaries and finish projects. And some of the places were closed. You cannot go to shows and events. Some of the places were closed. So you have complete industry, and of course, complete industry that were shut down, like the tourist industry. But in the end, you see the results. Why? Because you try harder.
In 2001, when the Intifada began, I always lose track of how many Intifadas there really were. They all seemed to blend into one another. But I was dating. My wife at the time. We lived in Jerusalem, and there were these wonderful restaurants we would go to, or coffee shop. It was just like overnight. Actually had scheduled a meeting downtown. I walked downtown and it was a ghost town. There was nobody there. I was literally the only person walking around. Of course, I had asked myself, what am I doing here if nobody else is here? And then 1 week, 2 weeks afterwards, a month afterward, all of those shops and all of those restaurants, all the coffee shops, they all shut down. They all died because they apparently relied so much on tourism and people stopped coming.
It's a sad story, and of course, I try to focus on the positive side, but there are businesses that I saw personally. There are businesses that shut down, that were closed. A lot of people go to do reserve duty, go to the army in the middle of the life with kids, and their businesses or their work is not stable, and they lose money and they lose businesses. I think we should, as a society, hold them, and as a country, support them, not just now, even in the future. Why? Because this is the way we are. This is the moral thing to do, and this is the way to say thank you for your service. In America, you say thank you for your service. In Israel, you don't say. Why? I think we should say thank you for your service. I know it's mandatory, but still thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for your service. And people, of course, I talk about the macro, but in micro, you can find very, very hard stories. It's not easy. Okay, it's not easy. I have shell. I have thick layer,
Skin,
thick
yes.
skin. Yeah, yeah. It's not easy. When I went to first time during the war, went to the Shiva hospital from some small thing. I saw people without limbs, without hands, legs, very young, younger than me, and you understand where they came from, and you can see here. I don't know if you when you work now, it's like they said you don't see many children, many babies until you have one, and then you can see a lot of cars and babies around the kindergarten, etc. Same is here. Now you see people with prosthetics and no hands, no legs in their 30s or 20s, and they are probably soldiers. Maybe some of them had an accident, but probably they are soldiers that wound in the battle for us, for me to raise my kids. Now I can hear the birds. It's a very sunny day here. In Israel, most of the time it's sunny day, but very good weather. But people still there in the battlefield. It's not a complete war, but people are still away from their home. It's not just I didn't focus on the negative side, but there are a lot of negatives. Okay, I don't forget it for even a second. For even a second, I try to focus on the positive and try to grow because I think we are a positive nation here in Israel. It's a chapter. It's a chapter for Israel. It's a chapter also for the Jewish. The Bible is closed. I'm not religious, but the Bible is closed. But it's a very good chapter. It's not good, rememberable chapter in our history, and we shape it today. And we have a lot of challenges, a lot of people who don't like us because they don't like us. Why? Sometimes they cannot explain, or they have wrong facts to rely on. But we also have a lot of pro-Israels and people with logic, with common logic, and people that from both sides, okay, that understand that we are in a situation, okay, we don't call for it. We didn't start, okay. It's again going back to the root, like children in the kindergarten. We did not start. And again, I'm dedicating time and efforts and supplies of my personal to explain what most of the Israelis think, it's obvious. But people sometimes don't see it. It's obvious because they don't live here. They don't understand where we are exactly. We are a villa in a jungle.
What I'm hearing from you is that the Jewish people may or may not have a very particular constitution in the sense that we're different from the other nations. What I think you're saying, because of the pressure we've been under, not just since October 7th and since the Intifada that I brought up, for centuries, it has really shaped us. And when we're called the startup nation, now I'm hearing it in a different way. It's not just about business. The Jewish nation itself is always a startup nation. We're always in transition. We're always growing. And as you said so nicely, this is just another chapter in our story.
Yeah, and I think the better phrase for today is scale up nation. We try to
Mhm.
scale. We create and we want to scale, not just in business, in ties. At the end, I don't want Israel have the whole Middle East for itself. I just want to live in peace. That's it. In my hometown, with the children, can go out and without any fear. This is my goal in life, and most of Israeli goals.
Mhm.
Okay, we don't have any tutorials, ambitions. We just want to live in peace, and I think we are in a place that we can, aim for it. It's not easy. It's not easy. We have also political struggles here inside Israel, which are not helping. Yeah, but I try to see it in. I'm calling myself strategist because I try to see to do zoom out in the eye of the bird to see 10 years ahead in 10 years before, and it's a chapter. It's a memorable chapter. It can be good chapter. It's not a positive chapter because people lost their life. A lot of people, a lot of good people, not just Jews, minorities as well. And I always keep on saying it. Just now, today, on June 25, 2026, when we are recording this podcast, an Arab soldier found himself killed in the battlefield, regardless of the situation. But we have minorities here, and they have rights, full rights, and they're suffering from the thing that we are. And we saw it on October 7. I don't know if the chapter that we been discussing, and maybe it's a good idea for another episode. I don't know if the chapter, I give a small taste, if the chapter began on October 7 or not. Okay, it's maybe a philosophical question, but let's leave the people to think about it.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Tomer. Everything that you shared and all of the wisdom, I really think people are going to gain from this discussion, from your expertise.
So thank you, Shimshon, for inviting me. I hope that we will look on the positive, look on the bright side of life, okay? And always try to improve. Thank you very much.
On Masterful Leaders, we believe true success is built across every part of life, not just business. If this episode added value to you, subscribe, share it with someone you care about, and join us next time as we continue building the full package.